Hello there, beautiful listeners. I might sound far away because I was, but why, hello there, beautiful listeners. Welcome back to Engineering Chaos, a podcast where my co-host and I talk about life as female engineers, give career advice to those coming up behind us, and talk about life in corporate America as it continues to screw us all. I think we're going to switch the catch-up section to me just involving you in random TikTok rabbit holes.
I mean, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Because I discover so many of them throughout time. It's just fantastic. Also, for those listening and not watching on YouTube, we have not our entire collections. Well, her entire collection, definitely not mine, of stuffed Pokemon.
I'm missing Pikachu, okay? I have Pikachu, but I left him somewhere safe. But I left him somewhere.
How did you lose a giant Pokemon plushie?
I didn't lose him. I know where he is.
Oh. Is it like cat safe spot? Oh, okay. I understand now. I understand. Sneaky Link. It is with the plaything.
Oh my god, why do you go? That's fucked
because
up.
I know you.
That's
and
fucked up.
Significant others post a particular relationship have lasted very short amounts of time. So
I don't know.
Until you pass a certain threshold, they're just playthings to me.
Well, the acronym one got a little insane, to be honest, but that lasted a little too long.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah, whatever.
Point being is
I'm terrible.
You are living your life. It's not that you have terrible taste. You just are extremely picky.
I can't be, well, no, I don't think I can be trusted to pick either.
Fair enough. Sometimes we can't trust our own instincts because we're idiots.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I think that's that.
And sometimes you just have to not be looking. Because that's kind of the definition of my husband.
Not be looking. I don't know what you mean, but you met your husband on Bumble?
Yes, it was Bumble,
so
which is now getting flamed, but not really. Because it was, I think I've mentioned this in the past, but I was a serial monogamist prior to the stunt that I pulled in a slightly manic, slightly just I was 21 and I had no idea what I was doing with my life scenario.
You know, we had this basically the same experience, just at different time periods, right? Because serial monogamous.
Yes, I do.
Also, kind of fucked up one relationship, kind of thing.
Yeah, and so when I say I wasn't I was just having fun. I wasn't looking for. Definitely not looking for marriage within 6 months when I met my husband. But it just happened that way.
Listen.
I knew what I wanted, but finding it was not on my priority list.
Yeah, I think the problem is I don't know what I want. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out.
No, but I knew what I wanted. I was also being overly picky too at the time because what I wanted, I had told myself I wasn't going to be with anyone that wasn't military because that's just what worked for me. But
fair.
I mean, to be fair, my husband should be military at certain points, but he basically is
pretty close. He at least has, he can really blend in with the culture.
If the draft was reenacted, which I guess technically it never went away, but if they openly open the draft tomorrow, he'd be their top pick. I'm sure. saying they could finagle enough to have him pass a psych exam.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
But in theory, if you're truly in wartime, does it really matter if they're a little off their rocker? They're not going to say no to anything scary.
So what do you think would happen? Do you think like it would be just like World War II and World War I where all the women just stay home, work?
As of right now, yes, because they have not passed any new update to the draft.
Mm-hmm. To include women.
They have tried, but as of right now, that has not passed at a federal level to make that a thing.
Right, but do you think enough women would enter just
willingly?
Yeah.
No, because it's already proven. I mean, women do enter. I'm not saying they don't,
Right.
but
no,
to match the number of a draft, no.
You're right. Do you think there's enough educated women to be able to run things while the men are killing themselves?
I mean, historically speaking, we're an overeducated country right now.
How are
which
we
is
overeducated?
Impressive given our politics, but
I don't
just
think that's true.
by statistics, because for so long, at least with like my generation and the beginning of your generation, college was forced on people. So by degrees alone, we're overeducated. That doesn't mean our degrees are useful.
Got it. So it's not just.
Do we have enough women in STEM to keep manufacturing running? Probably not.
No, definitely not.
But there are exceptions to the draft, and that type of stuff is one of them. Also, the draft only goes to age 26. So technically, my husband's aged out. And so are, like, I am if they added women to it.
Oh shit, I'm gonna be aged out in a few months. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Unless they change the age.
Unless they change the draft age. But even then, they wouldn't go past 28. So. Unless they changed it between now and the end of this year, I would be aged out. My husband's already aged out.
Are you sure they wouldn't go past 28?
Yeah, because they want younglings that'll go be on the front lines for draft.
I think they'd want to get rid of the millennials. So I'd say up to 35.
No. I think they're more likely to reenact, and they've already started to try this. They've tried to re-enlist vets of certain age ranges. So in that age range, they want the people that have already done it, and they don't have to train.
Oh, that would be Sneaky Link. He wouldn't go back, I don't think.
So, well, they in a wartime scenario, they wouldn't have an option. They would be recalled. If the draft was reenacted, vets who are still medically capable would be recalled, absolutely.
The word
especially with how low our recruiting is.
The way that you're using the word recalled just
That's what it's called.
I know, but I think of the other way that we use the word recall.
Like in manufacturing, when they're like, bring everybody back. But I mean, that's literally what they're doing. They're bringing everybody back.
Yeah, because there's something wrong with them.
I mean, you joined the military in the first place. There's got to be a little bit wrong with you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
But in a wartime scenario, I think, personally speaking, he may not openly admit this, but I personally think my husband would willingly sign up without being drafted.
Yes.
That's just my husband in a nutshell. But I think it's interesting, to say the least. They have not passed anything, though, when it comes to women being a part of the draft yet. So. They've tried multiple times. It hasn't passed.
Yeah, we want feminism. This is what feminism means. This is what.
Oh, it's not like women specifically not passing it. It's not like people who are fighting for, they're trying to abolish most feminists try to abolish the draft altogether.
Nah.
But I mean, our recruiting speaks for itself right now. If we were to enter a world war again tomorrow, we'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Just from a personnel perspective, just because the military hasn't met its recruiting goals probably in the last 5 years.
Yikes. Yeah, you're right. Oh, speaking of, I think we should talk about the news that's actually happening today as we're recording.
Oh, so there's not enough. I'm sure there'll be more details in the future, but because it's happening today, there's not enough going on. But we're recording the day of the CrowdStrike outage.
And I think we should start
Which is,
conspiracies right now and place bets on what's going to happen.
I personally don't think there's anything. I think it's just a software engineer who didn't test his patch. This shit happens all the time.
I hope so.
If it's a hacker, they just exploited one of the biggest,
which is
infrastructure security risks on the planet.
And that's not scary to think about.
It's absolutely terrifying to think about, but I don't think we're the only country to use CrowdStrike.
No, we're not. No, this is worldwide.
So if this is a global issue, what good does it do hacking? Like, he's probably going to take down some of their own entities. So
what is QAnon or something?
I say this as it has been in recent news that a bunch of furries hacked Heritage Foundation. So I was about to say, I don't think anyone in QAnon is smart enough to hack a cybersecurity based entity. However, a bunch of furries hacked the Heritage Foundation. So
anything is possible. If you just set your mind to it, you can do it too. Even the furries. I love it.
I think it's about to be Hackpalooza. If it is a hacker for the CrowdStrike situation.
Right.
Between now and November, because people have to realize that the US election impacts more than just the US.
Oh, God, yeah.
It changes the global stage every time we elect someone new.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Hackpalooza
mm-hmm.
between now and November. At least there's gonna be attempts. So, especially with like the discourse already, with like people being mad about some of the wars going on in the Middle East, and Trump coming out and saying that like day one I can end the war in Ukraine. Well, if you have that kind of pull with Mr. Leader of Russia, why don't you fucking do it? To prove you have that kind of pull. Mm-hmm. That would be a guaranteed fucking win if you really do have that pull to stop that war.
Do it. I don't
but with a lot of people being mad about that, there are people who are taking matters into their own hands right now, and people have been predicting this for a while. We can't band together and go after our own government because that would just be silly. No, we're just going to take matters into our own hands and destroy everything in the process.
I don't know, because the people who start doing protests and they do band together, it just...
You've never seen the left and the right protest together, though, in recent years.
Oh, together? No, never.
That's what I mean.
No,
we as a country have to band together.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. There's a huge wedge dividing everyone.
Well, I mean, if you believe the media, the right's tearing apart the right.
Yeah.
Because technically speaking, per registration, I know there's a lot of different theories and thoughts on this. The unalive attempt on Trump was done by one of his own people.
Oh, yeah, okay. So there's news going on about that. So
I have my own tinfoil hat theory on that one, but...
So I've heard contradicting things on so
None
many
of the data
sites.
makes sense. I said none of the data makes sense.
What
but
data?
that's. I mean, there's the ballistics aspect of it all.
Oh, that. I'm not
There
even talking
is
about that
the Secret
specific
Service
thing.
aspect of it all. Of they were told multiple times there was someone on the roof. Why didn't they do anything about it? And there's a video that clearly shows one of the Secret Service members had the guy in his eye line, but chose not to do anything till after bullets were fired.
Yeah. We weren't talking about the same scope, but now I'm on the same page with you.
Okay.
I was
I don't.
literally just thinking of the part that you said of he was a Republican. That has been.
He was a registered Republican.
He
That is a true statement,
was.
as is his father.
I'm saying, but what I've heard is that there's contradicting evidence, but the contradicting evidence is just word of mouth. It's not necessarily.
Well, it's not necessarily word of mouth because there is, in theory, if it's not doctored, proof that he donated to a Democratic campaign, and that's what people are saying is contradictory proof. People are also sending around this video that says like that he put up the night before the event or something like that. That he and we don't actually know that was his account or anything like that. That basically was like, you got the wrong guy. I hate Trump and I'm a Democrat kind of thing. However, registration,
That's the evidence that we actually have.
registered Republican.
Yeah, that's the evidence that we have. That's solid.
It's all a big
Everything else
theory
is
that
rumors.
doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of people, like, they still haven't come out, to my knowledge, at this point in time of recording, they still haven't come out and said whether what hit Trump's ear was actually the bullet or a piece of glass, because there was a lot of debate on that too. And
Because his ear is pretty flat to his head. I'm just trying to think, like, if a bullet grazes him, that's got to be more than just his ear that gets hit.
well, there's also a lot of people analyzing the bandage he's been wearing at the RNC, being like, that does nothing. Why are you wearing it? The way it's like, it's not compressed to his ear, it's not formed to his ear. It literally, as people have put it, it literally looks like a maxi pad attached to the side of his ear.
It's for show.
Very much so, because on top of that, multiple attendees of the RNC started wearing bandages on their ear in solidarity with Donald Trump.
Oh my god, I saw that. I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? No. Really?
If that's not cult-like behavior, I don't know what is. But teach their own. Like I said, I am a very centrist kind of hear all sides perspective, because like when this happened, my husband and I were having conversation about gun reform, and he's one of those people that believes you should be able to own whatever you want to own. And I was like, okay, but what's the middle ground here? I'm not saying take away things from people, but what's the middle ground? And he was talking about background checks and like having to take a class if you are going to own one so that you know how to use it properly. Yeah. And I'm like, there's your middle ground right there.
But it needs to be at the federal level because not all states enact that. There are some states that have those laws.
I don't think really any of them do.
No.
Especially in states like here, right? We're open carry. If you could just go pick one up.
Honey, I ain't here. Me here.
Me here, we're open carry. So in that scenario, I don't want people who don't know that if they drop it, it could shoot if it's loaded kind of thing carrying around. Like, I understand the need.
I agree with you.
Because a family friend of ours just told a story, like someone was really excited to get their license and they're carrying, obviously. And then they started drinking and didn't put it away. So when they went to put it away, they accidentally shot it off. You shouldn't involve alcohol in firearms ever. Yeah. But again, with no real, like, I'm no firearm expert and I'm not going to claim to be, but in that scenario, you can't enforce it. That's the thing. As long as the Second Amendment exists, you're not going to be able to solve every problem with firearms. There will be misfires. There will be people who end up unaliving themselves cleaning their guns because they did something stupid. And this stuff happens now. That has nothing to do with background checks, but you can make things a little bit better with a middle ground, right? Of classes required for all owners and background checks that are a little bit more lengthy. I'm thinking.
I agree. But hold on. Hear me out. Some places already have those laws in place, but the system that they have built sucks.
I mean, fair, but you could also make the black market argument, right? This kid was 20 in a state that you have to be 21 to own a firearm. Firearm wasn't his. So legal acquisition
doesn't do shit.
You can do as much as you want legally, but it's not going to change people from getting it illegally.
Yes. So,
however, things like wait periods may cause someone to rethink in the situation of I'm fired up and I want to go right on a rampage.
Okay, well, there's that.
Maybe.
Yes. I think it would help on one end,
There's no
but not the other. Does that make sense?
But I don't think banning everything is the issue. Like, that's not going to. You still have a black market situation in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're. But again, I'm no firearm expert. This was just an example of like my husband and I. And I've seen a lot of people talk about this recently of we got married. We were polar opposites politically, but this is the first election cycle it's actually mattered.
In what sense? Like that it bothered you?
That they're arguing so often, not like me, but I've seen a lot of people on TikTok talking about this. This was one of my TikTok rabbit holes recently because a lot of my TikTok has turned political because it's that time of year.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of different political commentators and things like that. It's my own fault that it's turned this way.
But so long. I turned off TikTok. I was like, I can't. I'm not looking at it.
I like hearing different perspectives, and I've been listening to this political commentator, Hassan.
I like him.
He was on H3.
I like listening to you and him and H3. That's it.
Because Hassan criticizes both sides, and I think that's why I like listening to Hassan's commentator. Like, you can tell he's a little bit more left-leaning, but he does criticize both sides.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about his commentary is it's as unbiased as you can get in political commentary, in my opinion, which is a very difficult thing to do because everyone has their biases, and he admits it. He has his own. But anyways, I've seen a lot of couples been like, we knew we were a right and a left when we got married, but up until this recent election cycle, it didn't start so many arguments because it was more about like the economy in previous elections, and now it's more about actual core values and
it's just kind of
rights in some cases.
Kind of wild.
So in previous, it didn't matter as much because, I mean, again, I haven't been voting that long or really interested in the political scene at all until recently. But in previous elections, the Republican stance has always been about money.
Yeah.
And the economy is the economy. There's only so much, in my opinion, that a president can do, and their policies won't be enacted till they're well out of office, usually.
Or you don't see the effects of them until well after office.
Yeah, and then you blame it on a different president that's in power at the time, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
The president doesn't control gas prices, but their policies can in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
It is a funny line to walk with Republicans and economy because, like, people want to say Trump handed over this booming economy, but the reality is we went into a pandemic the minute this administration took office. Inflation was a global problem. Supply chain issues were a global problem at that point in time. Also, supply and demand is a thing. Gas prices went down in early 2020 because no one was going anywhere. There was no demand.
Conspiracy theory. What if this was all planned?
Oh, you don't want to get me down that rabbit hole. I've had that conspiracy theory conversation. That to me is a similar theory of 9/11 was an inside job.
It was. It was.
Oh, that's a conspiracy theory too.
It was an inside job. And JFK was murdered by the CIA, FBI. I can't remember which one.
Well, then you get into was Trump's unalived attempt planned? Was it staged? And the members that were unalive just collateral damage.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories at its finest. This is what I live on TikTok. But a lot of couples have come out and said, like, hey, like, it didn't actually start impacting us until this last election cycle because the issues are bigger here than they normally are.
Oh, yeah. Well, they
and
seem
thankfully, while in some cases my spouse is very
reasonable,
right-leaning, in others he's not.
Yes.
And the ones that matter to me, he's not. So.
Oh, got it. Yeah, like the right to make decisions about your own body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thankfully, for me, in that case, he's not. And he thinks that whole argument is stupid. Realistically, and my husband said this, so he won't get mad at me for saying this, he's an anarchist. That is just how he lives his life. He likes chaos at all times and has interesting thoughts on certain things. And I understood that about him when I married him.
Chaotic neutral.
I wouldn't say he's neutral by any means.
But I don't know, because like
say he's chaotic evil.
No, yeah, you're right. I don't know. I want her to be nice. I want her to be nice.
I love my husband. I do, but that is something I understood about him long ago. He is chaotic evil.
Oh god. What am I?
He can be chaotic good.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I wanted to put him neutral, because I was like, no,
he's not neutral. He leans more chaotic evil than anything.
Okay, what about me?
I think you're lawful evil.
You'd give me evil?
You have your vindictive moments.
It's spite fuels me. So yeah.
Therefore, you generally like to follow the law of the land. There we go. That was hard to say.
I like to follow the rules in order to get what I want.
Yeah, you manipulate the rule following a little bit.
I don't know if I do that on like I don't know.
I'm chaotic evil too, just like my husband, so I don't know why I was
conscious about it. Sometimes I'm not conscious about it. Other times, yes, I am very conscious about it.
I think you're more conscious about it than you are aware of.
I just want to pretend that I'm innocent. And
I think
I'm a nice person.
I was about to say, I think you like to ignore.
I like to think I'm a good person.
It's like trauma blocking.
It is trauma blocking.
It's traumatic to be a little bit bad, so you block it.
You're so right though. I'm a perfect person, and I don't make any mistakes, and I don't manipulate people, and I don't. Nope, not at all.
I'm chaotic evil. I fully admit it.
Yeah, you are. No, there's
That's
no doubt.
why my husband.
No doubt.
If anything, it's neutral, but I am more evil than I am anything else.
Correct. I was just thinking, like, do you think your capacity for the chaotic good is larger than your husband's?
Absolutely, because I have some capacity to care about other people, whereas my husband has the capacity to care about people in his inner circle, and that is about it.
That's fair.
For the most part, am also true on that statement, but there are some issues that I grow a little bit larger on.
what he said.
Because, for instance, like, I'm very neutral on, and I think I get this part from my father. Both of my parents are right leaning, but both of them have never made an issue on LGBTQ issues.
I can't say the same.
Both of them are like, if you want to be tethered to someone legally like the rest of us, freaking go for it. I don't care.
Fine, but consider the consequences.
And my dad literally lives in the sex change capital of the world. So you kind of have to get used to being around trans individuals when you live in that country.
True.
So
Never knowing.
You kind of just I think he said one of his stepdaughter's best friends is a trans individual.
Female,
I can't
female,
remember
trans male.
which one.
Oh.
I don't remember. I don't communicate with them that often, but I remember having this conversation with him recently. But again,
male
in
to
Thailand,
female?
it's pretty common.
I thought male to female is the most common.
It is.
Yeah.
At least in Thailand.
Yeah.
But I assume, just given that it was his stepdaughter's best friend, that it was probably M to F, but I don't know. I'm not gonna make statements for fact that I don't actually remember to be fact.
Yep.
However, again, like, my parents are right leaning, but with LGBTQ, like, that has never been an issue with them. But also neither of my parents like Trump, so there's that.
Yeah.
I think my parents are more libertarian than they realize, but they grew up in very right-leaning and very strict Mormon households, so they don't really notice how fluid some of their views are in comparison to their party alignment.
Which I think is a good thing, that they're disconnected from it, because I have a parent that is not disconnected. And they are very persistent.
But
and
how much of that
passionate.
is church manipulation too, though?
That it's like 90%.
Exactly. I mean,
the cult in the brain.
That was an interesting thing. So we haven't talked since I went up to the farm in backwoods, middle of nowhere, Georgia for the 4th of July. I hadn't seen two of my cousins who both did Mormon missions and came back and went to a, like, small religious school that they were still kind of wrapped up in it, but now they've both graduated, and one is doing dental school in Boston, which we all know Massachusetts is a pretty left-leaning state, and Boston specifically is not the most right-leaning. They can be pretty fluid. So now they're kind of exposing themselves to more of the left-leaning world because they grew up in Utah, which is very strictly Mormon and everything else. And then they went on their missions, and then they came straight to that school and didn't really expose themselves to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. I noticed when we were discussing some of this, because we got into a conversation on all of this and what do we think about it and things like that. And they're both medical, which has also shaped some of their new thinkings. They were a little bit more centrist than they have been in the past. They are slowly, like, I see the cult slipping.
I see it too.
And I was really
in my extended family. I do see it. It's very slowly, but I do see it.
And I saw it slipping a little bit in my uncle when he was here too, which is interesting because I could be wrong here. This is a conspiracy theory. I personally believe that he's only still in the church because of my mom's older sister. I think she very deeply believes in it.
Oh, God.
But he was more of a, I'm going to be the good family man, and this is a good structure for my kids. We live in Utah kind of thing. I've seen people make that argument. Like, my dad's older sister moved back to Utah, even though she wasn't in the church. She moved back to Utah because that culture felt comforting to her. Because they're good people. The church is just crazy.
Sometimes they're good people.
Sometimes. I feel like Utah Mormons, for the most part, are more sane than others. Because I feel like at least when I experienced like Mormons that I met in high school here in Florida, they had to make up for the fact that they weren't deeply rich in their culture like they are in Utah. So they were constantly on like the high horse. Like, I am the elitist, religious, moral person. And I don't get that as much with people that I meet in Utah. They're just people. Because everyone's a part of their culture.
I get a mixture. Because I still know there's elitists in Utah.
Oh, there absolutely are still elitists in
But
Utah, but I feel
yeah,
like
you do find
I've
them more
met
often.
more outside of the Utah bubble.
You're right. Well, especially Florida. I feel like Florida is like prime spot for petty Mormons.
Especially where I grew up. I don't know why. There were so many.
I don't know.
I don't know why. But and I attracted them somehow. I don't know how I ran into every freaking Mormon kid, but somehow I did. My mom used to laugh because every time I would find out another one of my friends was a part of the church, she's like, "How do you keep finding these people?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie."
I hated it.
I hated it because they all knew my dad's mom, and I related more to my mom's side of the family than I did my dad's, and they would all like compare me to my dad's side of the family. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Once they like found out that I was related to my
Gross.
to the person, because like my maiden name's not that uncommon, or is not that common, is what I mean to say. It's not that common. So when they found out my last name, they're like, "Oh, are you related to?" I'm like, "Yeah. How do you know?" And it was generally because of the church. I feel like the teachings of the church are bad, but like in a community culture like it is in Utah, they can do some really awesome stuff. Like, I don't know too much on the history of Boy Scouts, but that being kind of a requirement in the Mormon church did some good things for the boys because they had to like go do their Eagle Scout projects and things like that. They had to get involved in the community, which previously they weren't.
That's fair. What about girls?
It has its good they had
The women stay home. They raise the baby. They
no,
raise the child.
they had their own thing with like Relief Society. They had like a women's thing because my cousin did it and I can't
Young
remember what it
women's.
was, but well, I mean, yes, they had Young Women's and Relief Society and things like that that were just a part of the church, but they had an outside of the church activity that they, because my cousin's rules when they were growing up, in order for them to get a phone, they had to complete like that level of whatever it was, Eagle Scout or whatever, like their Eagle Scout project. They had, unless they were paying for it themselves, they had to complete their Eagle Scout project before they could get a phone as teenagers.
I get that, but what was the girl, the woman?
I don't remember.
Oh.
It was too long ago and there was only one. So I don't remember. The boys all had to do it and there was 5 of them, so it was easy to remember. But there was only the one girl, so it was hard to remember. But I know she like the Mormon church has changed so that they can like women can do missions now too. They're usually shorter, but my cousin went on a mission. Usually they're domestic too versus the boys, which are international.
I think it's kind of. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to send
Yeah,
them.
and
Not a
like
lot of
some of the
countries.
countries the boys go to are not super female friendly either.
That's what I mean.
Because my cousin went to Ukraine, so, and then another one went to Samoa, and then the third one went to the DR. So, and I have a friend that went to Ireland, but that one's pretty normal. But
I just know my dad went to South Africa. That's it.
Yeah, it depends. They go all over the place. Because my uncle and this was kind of a cool thing. My uncle and his oldest went to the same place. So they sent his oldest son I don't know if that was intentional or not, or just luck of the draw, but his oldest son went to the same place he served his mission, which is kind of cool.
It's how God intended it.
Sure. I might have just been luck of the draw, honestly, but
No, it was God's doing.
maybe. I don't know. I think there are good things that can happen out of all of that, but also just it was interesting to see them kind of slowly come away, because I've been curious with them both going medical how the views of the church would start impacting their medical practice.
Oh yeah.
And they're slowly seeing the light, at least on those fronts.
Yeah.
So again, like, money's money. If you vote purely on fiscal policy, cool. It's fiscal policy. I don't really care. But it's now, and I think that's why, back to the people on TikTok are saying us being separate politics didn't really come to be a problem until this last one, and this is why. Because women's rights are more and more on the table, and people are somewhat fear-mongering Project 2025.
The media doesn't help. Media always adds to the fire. Influences
Well,
the
the media
fire
is
too.
not talking about 2025, and that's because they don't want people to assume that Trump was involved in it, and Trump is trying to distance himself from it because it's a big, scary thing to some people. It's fairly obvious.
Is it not common knowledge? I thought this thing was like a...
It's really a TikTok thing. It's not common knowledge.
Oh.
It is only gaining a lot of traction because people are constantly sharing it on TikTok. Like, this is the future of a Republican president. This is what they're going to enact. When in reality, it's a manifesto. The presidency and the administration doesn't have to do any of it. Will they? Probably. But they don't. It's not a literal political, like, it's not what the Republican Party put out as their agenda for the next presidency. It's not. When you align it to Trump's Agenda 47, are there similarities? Absolutely. It's suspicious that Trump plans on putting people who were architects of this thing in his administration. But no one has openly claimed it in politics currently, which is a marketing strategy in my opinion, but
this is confusing.
Yes, but people are the short of it is the left is using 2025 as a fear-mongering tactic to get people who are more centrist or moderate to vote blue, specifically women, because there is a lot of policy in 2025 and even in Agenda 47, especially now that Trump's VP pick has been picked and has his own opinions on things.
I've been ignoring the news. Who's his VP?
JD Vance. He's a senator out of Ohio. I know he's out of Ohio, but I don't know what
state senator
specific title he held. But since the pick was announced, there's been a lot floating around about his absolute abortion ban stance, regardless of exceptions. So, and a lot of people
he was a crayon eater.
Was he a Marine?
He was a crayon eater. Why?
But a lot of people have brought up that fact, and that it was a bad pick for Trump because it doesn't bring you any independents or moderates. It's another extremist. So, right. And on top of that, it doesn't bring you any swing state votes either because he's already from a red state.
But are there enough extremists?
The political debate fumbled it for Biden. Biden having COVID now doesn't help. The assassination. Right, yeah, he's got COVID.
Bro.
The unalive attempt doesn't help either because it turns Trump into a martyr and he can milk it until the end of time. big donors asking Biden to step down and remove himself from the race doesn't help the left. Because you've got big donors like, what is his name? There's a celebrity that recently put out like a whole request for Biden to step down and said, this isn't the guy I was with 6 months ago. Like, he's gone.
Oh, shit. Well, I
Yeah.
agree. Everyone agrees. It's elder abuse right now.
I don't disagree, but if he's not willing to step down, what can they do?
I don't know.
There's also some information that's come out recently that the shooter of the Trump unalive attempt also tried to go after Biden at some point. Yeah. So we've got a little bit of like an anarchist extremism thing going on right now.
Well,
but I
saw that coming.
think it's going to be tight so long as it's these two candidates, because it's a lose-lose regardless. Trump, what
And then
could
we
have
to talk
pulled
about
Trump
the
ahead
safety of voting.
is if he pulled the actual unity ticket method.
Oh crap, you
I know, I saw. What could have pulled Trump ahead is if he actually went with the unity ticket that they were talking about post his attempt and pulled in JFK as his VP. That was an option. And it could have pulled more independents and moderates. Because most libertarians had said, I'm going third party with JFK. A lot of, even some right wing moderates had said, third party is the only way to go at this point, because these two options are not an option.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't do that.
He did not do that. Had he pulled a unity ticket, then we might have had a different conversation. But Vance is just as extreme, and I think Trump knew that, because Pence wouldn't break the law to not certify the election 4 years ago. And I'm pretty sure he thinks Vance will.
I'm confused about that. What?
So a lot of people are speculating, and this is all just theory, that Trump chose Vance because Vance is a yes man.
Of course, right?
Vance was previously anti-Trump, but will do anything to get up the political ranks.
Facts. Okay. But I'm talking about Pence. That thing.
So, from the recounts of what happened on January 6th, Trump had asked Pence not to certify the election because of election fraud, and wanted to basically hold up certifying and naming Biden president because he believed he won. I don't really know the theory.
Wait, so Pence had that power to certify the election? I didn't know that was a.
The VP certifies the election. Yes.
I didn't know. Okay. See.
So
American
on January 6th, Pence said, no, I'm not doing that. He's won per our rules and regulations. There's no proof at this moment of voter fraud or election fraud in any case. I'm certifying it, basically. He said, I'm doing my duty.
Mm-hmm.
That started the war that's been going on between Trump and Pence since Trump said he was going to run again, basically.
I didn't know it was a war.
Trump's not running with his original VP because Pence won't do it. Pence has openly said he won't vote for Trump.
Good for Pence.
So, with that being said, people believe, again, this is all just me getting involved recently in politics. People believe that Trump chose J.D. Vance over going with like a unity ticket because Vance is a yes man. It would be no different if he chose DeSantis as his VP.
Do you think there's going to be definitely like voter fraud stuff?
I mean, if you look at the media, they think the left is the voter fraud issue.
Correct.
They investigated voter fraud for last election, and they didn't find anything to be out of the ordinary. If you look at the media, dead people were voting. I don't know what to trust in that scenario.
Right.
Was that actually happening? I don't know.
I'm
not there counting electoral votes.
I think there's a little bit of both, but how can we we needed to be able to quantify that, but we can't.
From the investigation, they did some quantification of like the fraud, and it wasn't enough to change the results.
Okay.
From my understanding of the investigation,
happen.
I didn't really follow. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Right. It's not. Yeah. But. Okay.
It does happen.
Do you think it'll happen
and again,
more this
people.
Election?
I say it could go either way. Honestly, it could be the people not literally stuffing ballot boxes, because that's not possible with electronic votes. But I think you could get some permanent residents voting when they're not supposed to be, even though that's technically a way to end yourself in jail. I think we're going to get a lot more voter suppression issues, where they're removing polling locations in areas of low-income housing and make it harder for people of color to vote and things like that. I think that's going to be a bigger issue.
They've always done that, but yeah, it's going to be a larger issue this upcoming.
Yeah. I think a lot of polling locations are going to mysteriously disappear.
That's depressing.
Or some will be requiring things that others don't because they believe in ID, voter registration ID type stuff. So some will be like requiring ID to enter the door,
like an extra
even
ID?
though that's
like a third verification ID.
To most, they believe you should have to bring your passport or some form of naturalization document, because you can get a state ID without being a resident. So I think there's going to be a lot of just issues with voting in general. I also think, given the CrowdStrike outage today, if that was a hacker, there's a likelihood that people might try to hack the polling systems.
Could that have happened last
I don't know.
Election, though? They're just like covering it up.
I mean, there's theories that Russia was involved originally when Trump won in 2016. But it's all theory. So many conspiracies. These are my rabbit holes on TikTok lately. But I do want to talk about something engineer related. I've been wanting to talk about this for weeks.
No way. Really?
Yes. Because it's so cool. I want to talk about Epic Universe.
Oh, because it's opening up soon, right?
Because it is opening in 2025. So for those who are not in the know, because they don't live here in Orlando, Universal Studios is opening a new park. Its name is Epic Universe. However, the cool thing I want to talk about is the patent they pulled years ago that has had people questioning how the hell they were going to implement it for a very long time. Back when Epic Universe was first announced, people found patents and like license pulls for a roller coaster that had a jump track. Anyone who plays Roller Coaster Tycoon and wanted to kill their people in the theme park tycoons know what a jump track roller coaster is. They would create roller coasters where pieces of the track were missing to be able to jump from one location to the other. And they pulled that patent years ago. And no one knew how they were going to do it or what the ride was going to be. And now we know. The ride POVs have come out recently with all the different areas of Epic Universe. And They're bringing back a dueling coaster, which I'm really excited for because that
Finally.
hasn't existed in Orlando for so long.
I missed
So
it.
we're gonna get a new dueling coaster, which that alone is an engineering interest. Like the way dueling dragons used to do the dual loop, and I mean, people used to get hit in the head with flip flops and shit. That's why it had to go away.
Yeah. They just didn't
um,
build it correctly the first time. It's fine.
no, people weren't following safety protocol. You weren't supposed to wear flip flops on that ride. You were supposed to sit on them.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, I forgot.
Or take them off entirely because,
Yes.
you know, gripping with your toes for dear life while you're riding a roller coaster probably isn't your brightest idea. But we now know what the jump track ride is.
Mm-hmm.
And for my little gaming heart, it makes me so happy it's in this world. The jump track is Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
It's a Donkey Kong mine coaster. So right now, Universal has Super Nintendo World open in Tokyo. Tokyo? Yeah, Tokyo and Hollywood. Ironically, Orlando was supposed to be the first to open, but we're the last because thank you, COVID. Anyways, they only have the Bowser Castle Mario Kart ride in both of those locations. Donkey Kong will only exist in Orlando. We will be the only. It does. We will be the only Nintendo park to have multiple rides. At least from the start, because I think they're supposed to be expanding Hollywoods, but I don't really know that to be true. But from the start, we will be the only Super Nintendo World with multiple rides. And one of which is the Donkey Kong jump track ride.
So I'm going to come to visit you. You're going to buy me a Florida one.
So that's another interesting about Epic Universe is there's a lot of rumors on how ticketing is going to work.
Oh, shit.
And
better not be stupid.
There's a rumor that pass holders won't be able to add it. That's a rumor right now that has not been confirmed, and I really hope it's not true, because that will suck. The other thing is, we know this to be fact at this point. You will only be able to buy multi-day tickets where you go to the other parks and one day of those multi-day is included as Epic.
Motherfucker. What? Is it just because they don't want to, like...
They don't want to overcrowd. They're worried about overcrowding. They're worried about Harry Potter Part 2 is what they're really worried about. Because as someone who was there, because Harry Potter was one of the first big openings in Orlando in a long time. Oh, yeah. Right? Animal Kingdom as a park had opened in like 1998. And then like you had Universal. I think Animal Kingdom was the last park to open that wasn't a water park. I can't remember exactly the timeline, but Islands of Adventure had been open for a really long time by the time Harry Potter World came into being. Mm-hmm. Orlando was kind of stagnant when it came to new rides and things opening.
Avatar is the last thing.
Avatar opened after the first Harry Potter.
Really? Oh, damn.
Yes.
My timeline's off.
I think Avatar opened after both sections.
Oh, no way.
I want to say. I could be wrong. It could have been in between the two, but I know it was definitely after the first one. So the Islands of Adventure side opened in 2009, I think. Yeah. I was a freshman in high school. I know that because I know who I was with.
It was that new?
Yeah. It hasn't been around that long. The final movies hadn't come out yet when the first section opened, which is why this opening was such a big deal. Because the actors were still on contract to do meet and greets and appearances and stuff. Are we still talking about
Harry Potter or IOA?
I'm talking about Harry Potter. Was opened in 2009. IOA opened before that.
I thought you were talking about IOA this whole time.
No, but what I'm saying by Universal's trying to avoid the Harry Potter effect is Epic Universe has a lot of big fandoms going into it. Mm-hmm. It's got How to Train Your Dragon, which is big for the kids. It's got another Harry Potter section, which is huge. I mean, I love How to Train Your Dragon. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to kid areas of Epic Universe, that's going to be one of the major ones because it's DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Shrek, you've got Harry Potter again. Shrek's at Universal. They opened DreamWorks Land. He has a whole swamp and shit now.
Oh, I need to come visit. I really do need to come visit.
And like they turned the old Woody the Woodpecker coaster into Trolls, which is really cute.
It's time to come visit.
And then the whole what was the splash pad back there? What was it called before? I don't remember, but there's a whole like kid area back by where Barney used to be. There was like a whole like jungle gym. That is now Kung Fu Panda.
No way.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was Curious George. That's what it was.
Oh, it was. Yeah, you're right.
But it's now Kung Fu Panda, and they have a whole new DreamWorks show. But that's over at Universal. Back to Epic Universe. They've got How to Train Your Dragon. They've got Harry Potter.
Yep.
They've got Super Nintendo.
Yep.
They've got Dark Universe, which brings in all of your Horror Nights fans. Because it will be a year-round Horror Nights thing, pretty much.
What? I'm sorry.
Dark Universe is all of Universal monsters. So Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Invisible Man, all of the Universal monsters is going to be in a section of Epic Universe. So
right, I understand why they call it Epic Universe, because that's fucking epic.
Epic.
It's epic.
Yeah. So you've got those 4, plus you've got your Celestial Park, which is like just kind of the whole, we're traveling for the different universes. That's where the dueling coaster is going to be. It's kind of a unique Universal IP thing. It's not a strict movie IP.
It's just a theme.
Yeah, it's just like the theme of Epic Universe, Celestial Park. It also goes with the hotel, because this park will have a hotel physically in it.
Oh?
There is a hotel called Helios Grand that they are building that overlooks the park.
But you're still not in the park.
You're in it. You're in it.
You have to,
there's no walk.
Go in the park.
Go down to the lobby. Go into park
with all your baggage.
I'm assuming it's double-sided, right? I'm assuming it's double-sided.
What's double-sided? It cut out.
The hotel. So you'll like your lobby entrance will be from one side, and then you can enter the park from the other.
Oh, halvesies.
Similar to Cabana and Volcano Bay, but closer.
I've never.
The volcano to Cabana, or the volcano to Volcano Bay, is literally visible from the pool at Cabana Bay.
Yeah.
Like, you can walk a little small path.
We were literally going to do that, like, right before I moved, and then I got COVID.
Well, we weren't going to go to Volcano, but...
No, it wasn't Volcano, but it was Horror Nights. And we were
going to stay at Cabana, yeah.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. But this hotel is literally, like, on property. Like, Universal's previous on-property hotels were Hard Rock, Portofino, and Royal Pacific, but those still required a boat to get to the Universal parks. Whereas this one, you can literally walk into the park from the hotel.
Well, like from inside of the hotel.
Hold on, let me show you what outside. I mean. Because they've got the art.
Because there's Boardwalk at Disney's Boardwalk. That one, you just...
This is different.
Okay. It's not near, but it's a walk. It's a little bit of a walk, but...
I'll show you what I mean. See this guy right here? This...
Mm-hmm.
It is full screened. This is the hotel.
No, I mean I put it at full screen on my screen. Okay.
Oh.
Your little cursor is so tiny, so I'm like focusing really hard. Okay, that's a hotel. That's gorgeous.
You can see it. That's Helios Grand. Gorgeous. This is the park.
Figured. Yeah.
This is the dueling coaster.
Wait, hold on.
That's a part of...
really, really laggy. You see the two...
You can see it.
Okay. Oh my god.
This guy over here.
Okay. It keeps lagging really bad.
Yep. But you see what I mean by the hotel now.
Mhm.
Where it's literally in the park.
So the parking lot, I thought I kind of saw the parking lot in the back right. So would that just
It
be?
might be a little bit.
It'd be like similar to Boardwalk where it's like only only guests or people who have
I think
reservations.
the closest Disney comparison would be Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Fair.
Or
I'm just saying
I
like
know you haven't been there because
private
I didn't go there
parking.
either.
There's private parking specifically for
Yeah,
the guests or people who have reservations at the hotel.
obviously
Yeah.
there'll be hotel parking specifically.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing that Universal has never done, where the hotel is literally inside of the park, and
So it'll
people
be
are speculating that you'll have to buy like a ticket package to stay there.
it'll be a first for them, but they could just
They're
copy.
worried about crowds because when Harry Potter opened,
Oh, it was crazy.
there were 60,000 people by 6 a.m. The park was at capacity, and the line to get into Hogsmeade was all the way out in City Walk.
God damn. The nerds unite for Harry
Yeah.
Potter. God damn.
We showed up at 4 a.m. and we're still back by Jurassic Park.
Oh, you went.
I was there, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Both times. I was there when both sides open. Day of.
You're committed.
Yeah, so at 4 a.m., I was back by River Adventure.
Okay.
Like literally in front of River Adventure.
I'm trying to remember where that is.
At least a solid walk away from the start of Hogsmeade. But part of the reason they did that is because, or so many people were there, is the rumors that the actors were going to be there because the second movie, the set part 2 of 7 hadn't come out yet, and I'm not even sure part 1 had. There were still a few movies left to release when that section opened, and that's what they're trying to avoid because thus far of the recent openings for Universal, there have been the 2 Harry Potters, Hagrid's, which is Harry Potter adjacent because it's a part of that world, but it just wasn't a whole section.
Right.
And Velocicoaster. Those are the 4 big ones that they've had recently because they've had like retrofits of the Mummy and like Fast and Furious. No one really cared about those. Velocicoaster was a thrill ride, so it wasn't as attractive. It also opened in 2020. Or early 2021. It opened still in Panini times.
I remember all the times that we rode Velocicoaster together. I just had my eyes closed the whole time.
I love Velocicoaster. It's one of my favorite rides. But this is why I wanted to talk about Epic Universe, because the engineering Universal has come up with in recent years is obscene. Like Velocicoaster is one of the first coasters of its kind. It has no restraint and inverts. There's not very many rides that do that. It also has, I think, one of the most launches a ride has.
So I need that explained
in Orlando.
To me. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I need that explained to me.
What, the launches or the pullbacks?
No, I know the pullback and I know the launch. Before that.
Inverters? The restraint inversions?
Yeah.
Restraint inversions just, it does a loop.
Right. That's all.
So basically, that's all inversions means.
That's it.
But every ride in Orlando currently that does an inversion has a shoulder restraint. Velocicoaster does not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
Velocicoaster does not. So it heightens the thrill factor in comparison to other rides.
That's what I hated about it. I always felt like I was going to die. Like, oh, this is the time.
I love when it doesn't make I love when it doesn't make it over the top hat. I've yet to actually be on the ride when it does that, but I love hearing about
But
it.
as time goes on, it becomes less likely, though, right?
It still does it. It's all about weight distribution, right? If it doesn't load it properly at the beginning launches, your top hat's not going to work, which is why it pulls back and relaunches. Because it's all momentum based. So if you don't have enough
but they don't have
power going into top hat.
They don't have a smart system because you said something about, they would reset, recalibrate, and then
They do, but say they got it a little bit wrong with the first, because they set it based on the first launch. That's why you sit there for a few minutes after you load in, because it's setting kind of that launch power based on your weight distribution.
Right.
But say someone is a little heavier by the end, like there's different distribution, not by the end, but like they didn't quite do it right for the top hat. They didn't give it enough power. Because that first launch isn't as necessary as the top hat. So the system, I mean, software messes up. Software isn't right 100% of the time. So
right, but doesn't it just continue to learn from its mistakes?
I would assume so, but it's still gonna do it.
It's gonna do it, but it becomes less likely.
Yeah.
Over time. Sure. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't. Sometimes it's heat related too. Like winters, there's a whole bunch of different factors that will always make it do it.
Of course.
It could get better at it, but
yeah.
Or rain.
It's gonna be like
things will move. Yeah.
Life expectancy.
But and also like the hydraulics could be going bad in the maintenance. So, but Universal has come up with some crazy rides in recent years, right? We know the Mario Kart ride is coming to Nintendo World for Epic Universe. We know plenty about that. I think it's going to make a lot of people sick. It's another one of those like 3D. It's like playing Mario Kart. You're shooting at different things, trying to like throw bananas back at the people. Think of Rise of the Resistance, but 3D, which I don't think you've done. Which
I've done Rise of the
Resistance. Or Ratatouille, even at Disney. It's kind of like that, but there's a game element.
No.
It's like that, but a game element.
Blech.
I think the like headsets are even like
Toy
VR,
Story?
maybe?
Toy Story?
Yeah, maybe a little bit like Toy Story Mania, but I think it's like a headset instead of glasses.
How are they going to clean that?
Because SeaWorld did a VR version of their Kraken roller coaster for a really long time. The cleaning aspect is why they took it away, though.
Yeah, right.
Because it took forever.
Right.
So we've got that one. That one is kind of just, it screens, it's a kid-friendly ride, right? We've got dueling, which I am excited for. The dueling coaster.
They're calling it dueling? Or
no,
you don't know what the coaster's called. It's just a dueling coaster.
I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. But it is a dueling coaster. Yeah. So we've got that coming in. We've got the Donkey Kong jump track, which the POV that shows how they did the jump track is fantastic. And I will be inserting it here.
See if you think it's jumping. It's not actually jumping.
No, it's not. No one expected them to actually do a jump track. That would be a safety nightmare.
I know. That's what I was thinking of. I'm like, that's not.
But from the viewer's perspective, right?
It's an illusion.
It's an engineering illusion, though, because they had to build. Think about the cart, though, because of the way that POV is built. The illusion of a jump track from the viewer's perspective is all built into that cart. The hydraulics to make it move that way while also on a track.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. So make it feel like you're weightless, like you're in the air.
Yeah. You're not. And like the hydraulics of like keeping the view in line with the track.
I see that now that I'm watching it as like the POV. I can see that now, but when it was like the first part of the video, it wasn't showing me that. Now
when
it
you
looks like
see the
Minecraft.
magic behind the scenes,
Why does it look
but
like
then
Minecraft
you put
now?
it because it's a digitally animated version of the roller coaster itself.
Shit looks like they made this in Minecraft. I kid you not.
But to take it from the like viewer's perspective, right? You're riding this ride for the first time and you're figuring out it's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy room. How does the room disappear if you're not really paying attention to it? People are amazed by how that room suddenly becomes the giant spaceship room.
Right.
When it's really just like a pulley system.
Exactly.
But the illusion effect to engineering is the cool part, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you can think about it, like for instance, one of the things that really kind of made me think about Calc 2 in a different way was riding Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens. It was one of the first Magpul roller coasters in Orlando. And there was a lot of like around the axis, which is why Calc 2 came to mind when I was looking at it, because they have a lot of like studies about the speed and velocity and things like that posted around the queue of Cheetah Hunt. So thinking about like the magnetics, again, similar to Velocicoaster, the magnetic launches have to be loaded properly for that momentum to all work with Cheetah Hunt. So that was one of the first like engineering things. So I was like, that is kind of cool.
Hey, you want to know like one of my first engineering projects in undergrad was an electromagnetically propulsed roller coaster.
That's Cheetah Hunt in a nutshell.
Yes.
That is literally Cheetah Hunt. But so we've got that patent that's been pulled, which is awesome. And then on top of that, in Dark Universe, there's going to be a roller coaster where the whole cart spins on an axis.
Pretty sure Disney has that too.
No, not. It's not like Guardian Spin. It's an outdoor coaster that.
No, so like in Animal Kingdom, I think. Yeah, Animal Kingdom in the dinosaur.
Okay, it's not like Mighty Mouse. I know what you're talking about. It's not like that though.
Okay.
It's different. It's like a mine cart where you can like flip to see different point of view because it's for one of the Dark Universe rides.
Do you get control?
No.
Oh.
The ride gets control.
Okay.
Because it's for yes, but not in this way. Like yes, there are spinning vehicles,
it's mechanically
but they're
different?
not
Mechanically built different. Built different.
It's more the fact that it's on an intense coaster than it is because
usually
the
lazy rides.
Dino Land ones are like little baby. They're like family friendly rides.
I don't know. My mom was on it. I have a video of my mom on it. She was like getting whipped around.
It's a different mechanic from what I've seen. There's not much out about the Dark Universe piece yet. I think because they're waiting to do like a lead-in house for Horror Nights. Because we still have one house that hasn't been announced yet, and everyone's assuming it's a Dark Universe lead-in. Because they've been doing Universal Monsters the last couple years. We're waiting for the Universal Monsters house to come out. So we're thinking it's going to be a lead-in to one of the stories in one of the rides in Dark Universe because it's supposed to open early next year. So it'll open before Horror Nights next year. So we're thinking the last house is going to be something Dark Universe related.
I'm so excited.
But
I need to start saving up money now.
I'm so excited for Epic. And there's just so much. And then there's the Ministry of Magic. What is a big component to Ministry of Magic? The Flu Network. So there's a lot of thoughts that the ride inside of Ministry is going to be Flu Network.
Can I step
That's what they're thinking. Like it's going to be a part of like they made Gringotts. So the Ministry is going to be Flu Network related. And like all of the underground pipeline related. So that's
just
there's
like
so
an
many
individual elevator
mechanics.
that'll just take you down and it looks like you're in a toilet.
I don't know how Ministry of Magic is going to work. And then How to Train Your Dragon, the cool engineering piece there is the show. they are going to have a live meet and greet with Toothless. So that is an animatronic, no doubt.
Of
Like
course.
a human controlled one.
Yeah.
But it is very mechanical. And the show has already been in Universal Singapore, I want to say. One of the foreign Universals already has this show and they're bringing it here. But it's all like all the dragons and they're like flying in the show. Like, yeah.
Like drones? Like how? What?
No, it's all like string based, I believe. But they're still life size freaking
Like
dragons.
how? Oh, is it an indoor theater, not like an outdoor?
Yeah, it's an indoor theater.
Got it. I was thinking an outdoor.
So it's all rigging, but
okay.
The dragons themselves are just gorgeous.
Well, now
They're so gorgeous.
Singapore, Toothless.
And like Toothless actually looks like Toothless. And I'm very excited. Because I want to meet my Toothless baby. And there's like a flying dragon ride, and there's like a water ride specifically like for kids and families that you can go like attack people with water in How to Train Your Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the concept art is wild.
It's a statue.
Toothless isn't.
No.
Not for the meet and greet.
Oh,
this
God.
Is Toothless.
That's scary as fuck. That is creepy as hell. The fact that he doesn't bend in his front legs, that...
He does. It's just walking in this picture.
The proportions look not right.
It's like the people that have to play Sven on the West End for Frozen. It's a puppet.
Are there people in it?
Yeah, there's a person in it. You can clearly tell there is.
So
it's like the Velociraptor
just
meet and greet
person?
at Universal already.
Just one person?
I think it's only one. I think it's like a puppet, right? You can control it. Yeah. Sven on Broadway is only one person.
Never watched it. Never seen that.
A reindeer. It's literally a reindeer puppet.
I know. Like, I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that's part of Isle of Berk is they're gonna get the Toothless meet and greet. Toothless and
well, it doesn't look that creepy. That was creepy.
Obviously, when they're walking, they look a little weird, but like
a little wonky. Are you okay, bro? You have too many drinks?
No, but like I'm excited because like Toothless, I've been a fan of How to Train Your Dragon since the original movie came out. I have Toothless and Light Fury as pops, and I surprisingly don't have them as plushies. I've resisted the urge to buy them multiple times.
Shameful.
Partially because I had to go on a hunt for the Light Fury Funko Pop. And I got tired of hunting for How to Train Your Dragon stuff for a while. But that's
gonna restart.
Oh, absolutely. When I can get... Well, they've already opened the Epic Universe preview store at City Walk, and I need to go over there and see all of it because they have like merch and stuff already.
Ooh.
They have an Epic Universe Spirit jersey.
Oh. Yes.
And I'm a Spirit jersey fan.
Yes.
But people are saying Epic Universe is going to be the nail in Disney's coffin.
Good.
And
they need competition.
I agree.
I agree too.
I think, especially because Universal's prices I was about to say, Universal's prices are notoriously better than Disney's.
Yes, exactly. So that's like, I think it'll finally allow for competition. Good competition.
They've been in competition since Harry Potter opened.
I mean, for like, we'll benefit from it because Disney will back the fuck down on their prices.
Yes and no. Some people have speculated that it might actually see an increase in Disney's prices because of some of the new pricing structures of Epic for the first like year. If they already have to spend 3 days with Universal to get into Epic for 1 day, they might do Disney on top of it.
Not if the prices are high.
Well, that's what it's a debate. Will Disney decrease or will Disney double down and say
Disney
we
would
have
be
more parks?
Disney would be stupid to double down and say, I'm going to increase the ticket price. That inflation, sure, little tiny bit for inflation.
Oh, they've gone insane with the pass holder prices in general. It's like they're trying to get rid of pass holders entirely, whereas Universal tends to be more pass holder friendly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Of the parks here in Orlando, the most pass holder friendly one is, and people can hate on me all they want, it is true. The most pass holder friendly park in Orlando is the SeaWorld properties. They give free tickets to their pass holders that they can get other individuals in. They do summer events that if you continuously return to the park over the summer, you get a bunch of free stuff. They give merch discounts. For Christmas time, for pass holders, it's 50% off.
I think they do that because they need to.
No, they've always done that, even before the scandal.
Really?
Their pass holder stuff was always. The other thing I like, SeaWorld has always done this, is if you are a top holder, like top tier pass holder, you get access to all of their parks across the country. So as a platinum pass holder, not only do I get everything here in Orlando, plus Busch Gardens up in Tampa, I get Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, SeaWorld in San Diego, SeaWorld in San Antonio. I get all of them.
Yeah,
Sesame Place in Virginia.
Do you actually use it? Use that
If I go there, yeah. I just don't ever go to like Texas or California. But if Universal followed suit, right? Their premier pass holder had both Hollywood. There are years in recent years I would have done both horror nights, Hollywood and
hell yeah.
Orlando.
Oh,
if I had that access, but I don't. So when it comes to how they treat their pass holders, SeaWorld is the top pass holder entity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
On top of that, they're innovating a lot too. Their rides, they have a stand-up ride now, which I love those. That is not a new engineering, but it's new to Orlando. Those are so cool.
All of those make me sick.
And there's a coaster where you choose, like, you're standing while you ride. It's supposed to be like a surf coaster, which is really cool. And then they also have Manta, which has existed for a long time here in Orlando. What, the flying coaster?
Or the standing coaster?
Or not the flying coaster, the stand-up coaster. It's a shoulder restraint. So it's the same chair mechanism as like a regular roller coaster, right? With the like sit down thing, but you set the height so that you're like standing, bouncing. So instead of sitting, you're standing in the same chair.
I get it. But do you're putting weight on your legs. You're not like just
light amount of weight. Like you're not fully standing, right? You don't want to be leg locked because that would be bad.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so how the proportion of how much weight you're actually being.
That's up to you. If you want to be a little bit more free floating, you can set it a little bit more free floating.
I need to see this thing.
This isn't a new ride mechanism. LA has had it for a while. Six Flags LA has had it since I was a kid. They have a ride called Joker. That is a stand coaster like that. Or not Joker, Riddler. Sorry. Because it's based off of the Batman character, the Riddler. But from a pass holder perspective, if Universal steps up and lets us add Epic Universe, I will be a very happy person. But it sounds like they are very worried about crowds because they've also announced that those of us with the free Premier Horror Nights ticket will have to reserve dates next year.
Bitch.
They're worried about crowds. No, people will go over to Epic Universe and then bombard Horror Nights.
You're right.
People will strategically choose because that'll also give a couple months of Epic Universe being open too.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, with Epic Universe having Dark Universe, Horror Nights fans are going to flock there anyway.
Yes. You're right.
And thankfully, Not thankfully, but I think it would be cool. But they can't do a dual park thing with Epic Universe because it's too far away.
Oh yeah, is it going to be buses?
Yeah, so there's
Again,
already a bus. So it's over by. There's 2 other hotels that already exist that are meant to be Epic Universe hotels. It's Endless Summer and Dockside,
right?
or Dockside and Surfside.
Because I know
So
I
those
know where it's
2,
located. So it's
yeah,
just similar to Volcano Bay, where they if you park at
they
the main
bus you
park, they
over.
bus you over. Yeah,
Yeah,
dope.
but no one's gonna park at the main park. People are gonna find
Yeah, other ways.
other ways.
You know, our coworker like literally lives. I think he still lives there. I don't know. Like, but he
Yeah,
just can see it outside of his window. The
I would
construction.
love that, dude. I would love that. Um,
Pretty dope.
but there's so much engineering cool things going into those parks. Like I thought Guardians was cool. I thought Rise of the Resistance was cool from like an engineering perspective. Rise has a lot of software that intrigued my brain. How they pattern it all out without like potential run-ins and everything else. It made my brain do interesting things.
You know what's
when
crazy?
I first wrote it.
You know what's crazy about that ride is that there was so much of like the intro and being so super involved,
Immersed
that I don't remember the actual ride. All I can remember is the immersion and the experience beforehand, but I can't recall the actual ride.
Yeah, I remember certain things because it's like because there's multiple. It's kind of like Ratatouille in the sense that it's a trackless ride where there's multiple vehicles going at once, and to program that to not be like a collision hazard with sensors and everything else is wild.
Okay, now
Like
it's
the
coming back
amount
to
of
me.
testing that probably took
Now I
to not
remember.
not only not run into other vehicles, but to not run into any of the actual physical set either
Yeah.
is wild. Trackless in general is interesting to me because of that aspect. It's all sensors.
It reminded me a little bit of Spider-Man in the sense that like of the
But Spider-Man's not trackless.
No, it's not. That one's like old, but this one was like a super modernized Spider-Man where like you were literally going in rooms and it was insane.
Are you talking about web slingers in LA?
No, because I'm just thinking the concept of like there was an elevator aspect, right, where you were going up and down.
Yeah, there was that.
But you like physically were actually going up and down, right?
Going up and down.
Yeah.
I think so. I believe so.
But
Because
on
you
the
have to
trackless
like
ride.
load into the bay and then it drops. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is
it's
it's not
insane.
only trackless, but it's a multi-vehicle trackless.
Yeah.
You were always in like a scenario with another vehicle in that ride, and that was always intriguing to me. Is how did you keep everything from like the sensors and the software? If there was even a smallest bug in that, it could go sideways.
Oh yeah.
So the amount of testing needed to open that was wild.
But so Disney has been doing that for a while, right? But slow rides. So the fact that this is a fast ride,
Rise was one of their first trackless rides. The other ones all came after Rise. Remy came after Rise, and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Really?
Mickey and Mickey's Runaway Railway came after Rise.
What? Okay, wow.
Both of Remy existed in Paris prior to Rise.
My timeline.
But here in Orlando, Rise was the first trackless.
My timeline's so off.
The only reason I know that is because I have a friend that's worked all 3 trackless rides, and he boats that all the time. He's like, I know all 3 of them.
So dope. Yeah.
He opened 2 of them, so he's very familiar with the trackless rides.
So they just completely YOLO'd it and said, let's do a really fast ride that's trackless, and that's going to be our first one that we do in Orlando.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Because the only other trackless ride in Orlando prior to Rise was Rise of the Penguin at SeaWorld. And that one always had issues.
I've never been on it.
Well, they ended up having to close it because the chemicals they needed to clean the ride vehicles during COVID, because that ride ended in the penguin encounter, they couldn't clean the ride properly without causing harm to the penguins.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So they ended up having to close it, but now they've opened a new little like family launch coaster in its place. That's kind of cool looking. It just opened though, so that is, I haven't been over there to ride that one yet. But Disney, the biggest thing that they've opened in recent years post Star Wars, right? Because Star Wars was supposed to be their competition with Harry Potter. I don't think it went as well as they thought it was going to. They thought the new trilogy was going to bring a newer audience, and that evergreen kind of aspect that Harry Potter has had would then become a thing with Star Wars. That hasn't really been the case.
Different vibe.
The trilogy, most Star Wars fans hated.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
They fucked that up. Fucked that up.
And Mandalorian is about the only Star Wars property that has gotten the hype since Star Wars opened.
I don't even think I've been there.
I've been there, but I'm talking about Mandalorian the show. Is the only show that got hype.
No, Asuka. I think Asuka is what it is. That one's a good one. I've heard.
Yes, but that's newer. So like
Osaka?
when
I forget how to say
Osaka?
It. Osaka, yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, the trilogy didn't get the hype they wanted, so there wasn't as big of crowds when it came to opening Star Wars. On top of the fact that Orlando opened after, part of the reason Harry Potter here had such a big impact, it was the first one to open. They didn't open Hollywood or any of the other Harry Potter entities at the other parks until later.
No, you're right.
Hollywood Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened before Orlando's did.
You're right.
So to bring people here wasn't really a thing because it had already opened in California and they're identical.
Yeah. So they're like,
What makes Orlando unique, we're also the only Harry Potter that has both sides. By the time Hollywood Hogsmeade opened, Orlando,
so they staggered it.
Diagon Alley was open.
Diagon Alley.
Yeah. And Diagon Alley was the best kept secret on the planet. Because the way, and you've been there, but for the listeners, the way Diagon Alley is set up, you can't see it from the front.
At all.
So they took the walls down really early. You could see the London facade, but you had no idea what was behind London.
You still can't even see it. You had no idea.
I know, but that was the big draw for those of us that were there on opening day, because we didn't know anything was back there.
Right.
We thought it was just going to be this small little facade, because that was what was there before. Because it was Jaws before.
You're right.
So we had no idea.
I don't even remember what Jaws looked like. I remember being on the ride.
It was just a front, and then like it was like a boathouse. It wasn't any much of anything. The majority of what is now Diagon Alley and Gringotts was like the actual boat ride itself.
I'm sorry. It's gonna be
so no one knew the dragon. You couldn't see the dragon.
Yeah, no.
From any of the construction.
But you couldn't get an aerial view either? Like while they were constructing?
They were like drones and stuff weren't that big back then. Like not ones that could get good aerial views like we do now.
GPS though.
Yeah, but you couldn't see, for the most part, no one was even speculating about the dragon.
No one.
Like you couldn't see it.
Okay.
Like we knew Gringotts was coming, but we didn't know how it was going to be built.
Yeah.
So they were really tight on the creative aspect of both Harry Potter sections. You didn't know anything until you entered, which was kind of the whole magic of it all, which is why I'm assuming they're not releasing a ton on the Ministry of Magic either.
That's good. No teasers. They
So
don't need teasers.
the engineering aspect behind new theme park innovation is intriguing to me because in some ways theme like coasters never change. They've been doing it for years. They're big coaster manufacturers. But when a park comes out with something new that no one's done, like the jump track, dueling coasters are I think a universal patent. Like no one else has them. I could be wrong, but I've never seen any other park that has a dueling coaster.
I don't think so. I can't think of one.
And Disney seems to just want to refit everything. Like their big announcement of the summer was Tiana's, and Tiana's was just an animatronic redo. The ride itself didn't change.
Right, yeah. But, I mean, it's a good thing that it did change in the story.
I understand the hatred for the story, but there's also like nostalgia with Splash Mountain. I'd also rather them just done something else.
I have nostalgia too, but like, still fucked up.
Like, I'm not against putting Tiana in the park. I think every princess does, like, especially with Magic Kingdom. But I also don't think that was the right location either, because now Frontierland is kind of messed up.
No, they definitely just they were like, "Oh, we got to include her. Yeah, let's just put her there. We don't really care about that princess as much. So let's just put her there. It's fine."
I also don't like ruining the mountains.
The fake
You
mountains.
could have changed the story of Splash Mountain without renaming it.
It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really.
Like,
because Louisiana
you could have just
isn't Louisiana flat?
No, but it also just it's one of those like it's always been the three mountains, thunder, splash, and space. Like in Orlando, at least, it's always been that way.
Now it's
And that's yeah. I was like, now we don't have a mountain. We're missing the mountain. It's just one of those. It's a weird thing. Like I'm all for the like getting rid of the story behind Splash Mountain. That's not the nostalgic aspect. It's the mountain aspect that I miss. I also don't feel like unless they're going to completely redo Frontierland and Thunder is going to get retrofitted to something else too, it fits.
Maybe it's just like phase 1 because they can always reuse those animatronics. So I'm thinking, okay, what if they just didn't want to scrap the ride altogether yet? This is just phase 1. And then they have plans in place for years later to expand that.
Could be.
It. But it's like
although I will give credit where credit is due. Disney is the animatronic master.
Yes.
Those animatronics from an engineering perspective are gorgeous. I have seen POVs of them. I have seen the way they move, the way they are synced to certain things. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I will give credit where credit is due on that ride. The animatronics are gorgeous. However, from what I've heard, because of how it's all synced and timed, if the boats get off at all, which they always do on that ride, they have to shut down.
Oh.
So they've had a lot of shutdown issues since Tiana opened because of that. Because of it all being out of sync. And that's why kind of the story with Splash, not the story itself, but the animatronic piece, like, it didn't matter so much because they just kind of moved. They weren't telling in like a full story. Like, you couldn't have told, I didn't realize until all of this that Splash Mountain was actually based in a movie. And I don't think a lot of people did, to be honest. I thought it was just kind of like Figment.
Movie, but yes.
I understand that now, but I didn't know that. I thought it was kind of just like Figment, where it was something Disney made up.
Right, same, yeah.
But so
we gotta wrap it up.
Oh yeah, right. But engineering, I'm so happy when it comes to that stuff.
I'm so happy. I think the only thing that would pull me back to Florida would be to be a ride engineer. But I can go to California too, right? Or you go to Six Flags?
I'm excited for Epic Universe. I think from an engineer's perspective, the engineers that have worked on that have been working on it for a really, really long time. And even like costume designers and things like that. I know a family friend has been a costume designer involved in that, or at least she used to be. And then COVID happened, and I don't know if she ever got back on the team, but it is going to be a mecca. Oh, you got to think Orlando's already like a theme park mecca, right?
It's gonna be an epic universe.
Yes, the name is suiting. But
That's
when
what
you
I'm
think about
saying.
jobs, even, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the current team is very small because they've had to keep a lot of things under wraps, and they're not going to bring a ton of engineering into building a new park and everything, with COVID being in the middle of their thing. But it can expand for engineers who don't want to work in defense, which is another big thing here in Orlando. The theme park industry is getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
They're throwing more money at both Disney and Universal, both, and even SeaWorld are throwing money at engineering innovation and improving their rides and improving their experience, rather than like Disney is kind of moving away from their movies and throwing more money at their parks.
It's kind of crazy when you think about like the economy that we're in, though. The fact that they are still able to fund those projects.
Loyalists. I like I said earlier, I think the people here locally and even like around the area, right? Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, that whole people will come down and be loyalists to these parks. The Horror Nights is a big example of this. People come from all over the world to come to Orlando's Horror Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the experience that has been presented in the past, or just in general.
You theme park junkies, you can't get rid of them.
You really can't. And
They're
like Disney has
everywhere.
Disney adults, but like theme park junkies in general, like me, I will go to any theme park. Like,
oh yeah,
I have gone to several Six Flags. I've gone to all of the Orlando ones. I've gone to Busch Gardens, obviously in Tampa.
I've got some here that I need to go to. Apparently, I didn't know.
I
They're not big though.
am a theme park junkie. And I like looking at the different engineering and different rides, because like flying coasters and standing coasters have been in LA for years, but they're just moving here. So there are things in other states that are different than here in Orlando, even though Orlando is technically like the mecca.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I really just wanted to talk about Epic Universe because there's so many cool things.
I love it. I love it.
So many, like, and Universal's getting back to animatronic roots too, which is kind of cool. They're focusing less on screens. They think Nintendo World is one of the only heavy screen ride.
Well, that one makes sense, but yeah.
But yeah, lots of cool things to come. That was kind of my I wanted to talk about it. I've been wanting to talk about the jump track thing for a really long time, because the vehicle mechanism is cool, but theme parks in general are kind of a nerdy topic of mine, and they are engineering related. So, yay. That is all for this week, though. Next week we are going to talk about engineering my new spaces, because I have changed my plan entirely, and I'm no longer building a shed. So we're going to be talking about how I'm going to redesign all of this in the future. But that is all for this week. If you enjoyed this content and are willing to bear with us, go out and follow us on YouTube and leave comments and subscribe to us on all of the different platforms. And if you need any help with your health and fitness journey, please feel free to reach out to me at It's Coach KC on all of the things. I can speak. And as always, if you want to come hang out with us Chaos Gremlins and talk nerdy things like engineering aspect of Epic Universe, go out and join the Discord that is linked in the show notes below. And that is all for this week, my lovely Chaos Gremlins, and goodbye.
Bye.